stream where you can see how flip-flops are actually made, and these are not random flip-flops, but flip-flops with pebbles. So when you walk, massage your feet, stimulate reflex points. Just to give you a straight answer, you were designed to walk barefoot. Because everybody asks me if this is comfortable, and no, it's not meant to be comfortable. Comfort is making you weak. It's comfortable doing push-ups. No, it's not comfortable. So I don't know why everybody understands that you need to be uncomfortable to do great things, but they don't understand this. When it comes to footwear. So yeah, how many brands do you know that can actually show you how the product is made? Especially in fashion, because maybe I would believe that in some industries they actually make products in Europe, but most of the products is made in Asia for cheap labor, and this is not cheap labor. You are paying me to work for you, to make you a special flip-flops. And if you don't know yet, I'm famous with 1,000 followers on YouTube, but actually I had more on Instagram before they deleted my account. So now you can see how the flip-flops with pebbles are made. What would you say? What kind of footwear do you want? And when I ask this, everybody says comfortable footwear. But comfort is the worst. You just get weak. Have you heard maybe life begins at the end of comfort zone? That's where the secret is hiding. And now the end is near. I'm making flip-flops with pebbles. Yeah, this looks okay. It's super hard to make them. So if you want to see the real pebbles, and now it's not comfortable, because comfort is bad, super bad. You need to get stronger, you know. Because when you are strong, you are healthy. Now it's October and I was swimming in the lake and there were no problems. I'm swimming in the lake. I was cold for 3 hours and everybody is telling me, oh, you will get cold. Fuck. I can't keep the audience. What should I do? Maybe I should tell romance stories. Should I use deeper voice? Maybe just be more enthusiastic. It's scary. When you actually do something useful for humanity, people don't watch. But they watch when some ugly man is screaming, oh, watch out, work out. The size is not the correct one. It's not an easy task. This one looks better. So now first we will put this in a mold and then we will put glue, and then after glue we will put pebbles. You were designed to walk on pebbles. Just a second. Do you know why I stream? I stream to meet people because I don't have a motivation to work. So it would be nice if you would say anything. I like to meet new people, and that's a hack. You can learn a motivation hack now. If you don't feel like you want to work, just go stream or work with friends, and then it's like, you know, I'm hanging out with you now and I'm working. It's true that I'm working slower now because I need to work and think, but it's still better to work slowly than to not work. And you can put in the comments your body count. That was a small joke, but I still like jokes. Fuck. If you don't use it, you lose it. I lose a lot of glue because I don't use it. And also I lose a lot of time. Is anybody here actually interested in life? Because we are here to explore mysterious life. Do you believe in destiny? How did you find this channel? Did you watch shorts? So we are putting glue on. Now stay tuned. This is the most interesting man in the world. Of course, I'm still waiting for body count in the comments, just to see where the viewers stand. Did you know Porfirio Rubiosa? He was like the biggest playboy in the world, probably. He first married actress, French, rich, successful actress, and then he met the world's most famous woman, no, the richest woman, and this richest woman paid 1 million to French actress to divorce him so she could marry him. Now imagine that. Like 99% of man population is paying and spending money to get girls, and he had girls spending money to get him. So that's the level that we're talking about, because everybody can pay, but to get pay, that's the true skill or level. So he immediately became my idol. Check out Porfirio Rubiosa, just a crazy man. Oh no, everybody left. Fuck you. I have the worst followers. They don't care at all. What do people care about? Especially when they're watching reels. What if I tell you that your footwear is terrible and this is the solution? Do you care about your health? Now look, we will put pink pebbles into the flip-flops, because this is actually footwear revolution and nobody cares. You know, this is sad. This is like Nike 50 years ago, but nobody cares, which is kind of sad. And by the way, I'm making the third pair for the girl. This girl ordered 3 pairs already. 3 pairs. She ordered 3 pairs. I need to train charisma. What is charisma? Yeah, I think I can. You see, it's a boring work. That's why I decided to stream. You know, most of the people is just viewers. They look at world and watch. And there are some who are players. They play on stage. Like Shakespeare said, the world is merely a stage and we are the players. But most of the world is not a players. I don't know how to do that. You know what? I wonder also why I get like 100 views for live streams, and then when I post a video I get 50 views. It's very, very strange. And do you know that this channel now is 6 years old? And in 6 years I got only 1,000 subscribers, and that's it. So maybe I should make a video about my YouTube channel. 6 years for 1,000 subscribers. Is it worth it? No. my YouTube channel. But I got 60 million views on Instagram, so I guess it's all kind of, it depends what kind of products, content are you making. I think if you make more personal content, it's better for Instagram. If you make more like production stuff, like random stories, nice thumbnails, you never know. Life is like a box of chocolates. Why are you watching? Can you comment something? I don't understand why people watch things. Do you want to see Salta Mortale or what? I'm not even a girl. Normally people watch girls. Sredi pisane gracvitjam. So we are making flip-flops with pebbles in this episode of greatness. Stay tuned. Sri pisane gracvitjam. Zelenig trouw. Just to entertain myself, I go to birthday party soon. I will watch video on YouTube.
You would have witnessed an unseasonably late flurry of snow on the 27th of May. Considering it was almost summer, such weather was pretty miserable. Now, being British, I could talk about the weather all day, even the weather from 2 centuries ago, but that's not what's going on here. What I'm actually doing is employing a little-known literary technique known as prophetic fallacy. Not to be confused with pathetic phallus, which is something you call your enemy when you've run out of insults. Prophetic fallacy is when we give human feelings, in this case being miserable, to something non-human, in this case the weather. By doing that, we can use the atmosphere above London to reflect the bleak feelings of the people below. But why, you may ask, were the poor citizens of London feeling so down? Well, after 20 years of conflict in continental Europe, including the Napoleonic Wars and the Battle of Waterloo, the British economy was as depressed as the weather. For the privileged classes of early 19th century England, There was little to look forward to, apart from raising a few glasses of brandy at the coronation of King George IV, which was set to take place in July 1821. But before anyone could get too down in the dumps, an exciting character appeared in their midst. The exotic ruler of a far-off land, who was apparently in town to celebrate the crowning of the new king. This man, General Gregor MacGregor, introduced himself as the Cacique, or Prince of Poyais, a bountiful land in Central America. Haven't heard of it? Don't worry, neither had anyone else. But according to the Cacique, it was a veritable paradise. The rivers that meandered their way to the ocean there were littered with huge deposits of gold and silver. The land was fertile, and crops like maize could be harvested 3 times a year instead of the usual twice. And both fish and game were so plentiful that hunting for a day
We are
would
putting
deliver
a glue
a
now.
supply of food. On top of natural beauty and abundance, Poyais was also blessed with the beginnings of a thriving civilization, which included a democratic government, a fully functional civil service, and its own national bank and military. The capital, St. Joseph, was a thriving town with wide boulevards, mansions, and its own opera house. It was the land of milk and honey, and, would you believe it, the prince and his government were looking for investors in what was said to be the opportunity of a lifetime.
Wow.
If all this sounds a bit too good to be true, then congratulations, you probably weren't born yesterday. But the early 19th century was a more innocent era than our own, and hundreds of investors and wannabe settlers bet their fortunes and futures on MacGregor's grand vision of a utopia halfway around the world. Of course, Poyais was, like so much that came out of MacGregor's mouth, what a... But by the time anyone realised the truth, the man from the Mosquito Coast had pulled off one of the ballsiest cons in history, one that cost numerous people their lives and even contributed to the collapse of the stock market. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. First, we need to rewind a bit to the start of this story, because the only way to understand how a man sold off an imaginary country is to understand the man himself. The Prince of Poyais, Mr. Gregor MacGregor. He was born on Christmas Eve, 1786, and came from a strong Scottish lineage of adventurers and military men. His father was a sea captain with the East India Company, his grandfather a distinguished soldier in the British Army, and his great-great-uncle was the almost mythical Scottish rebel and outlaw Rob Roy. So, it's no surprise that Gregor had a taste for a fight
Pebbles.
and joined the British Army at 16. His family bought him an officer's commission, which meant he earned a rank without needing anything as trivial as leadership skills, hard work, or merit. But despite the shortcuts, MacGregor did show some natural ability, and soon found himself promoted to lieutenant of the 57th Regiment of Foot within the first year of training, a position that normally would have taken 3 years to achieve. He'd reached the first significant rung in what would be an epic climb up the military and social ladders. When he was just 19, he married Maria Bowater, the daughter of an admiral and a wealthy, well-connected woman. With his newfound access to serious cash, Gregor bought himself another promotion, this time to the rank of captain. The move cost him £900. That's about £80,000 in today's money, but it allowed him to skip 7 years of, frankly, inconvenient work and grind, usually required for that sort of promotion. And you thought pay to win was a modern invention. After a year in Portugal, supporting the Duke of Wellington in the Peninsular War, MacGregor left the army and moved to Edinburgh, where he tried to pass himself off to Scottish high society as a colonel and a man of great importance. His old regiment, the 57th Foot, had distinguished themselves at the Battle of Alborra, earning the nickname Diehards, and Gregor was only too happy to take his share of the glory, despite the small detail that battle had taken place a year after his discharge from the army. In the end, Edinburgh didn't embrace him, and he and his wife moved back to London, where he upped the stakes even further, rebranding himself Sir Gregor MacGregor, Clan Chief of the McGregors. Had the ruse worked, we might today know Gregor's face from shortbread biscuit tins everywhere, but it wasn't to be, because shortly after returning to London, Gregor's wife died, and so did his primary source of income. Unable to fund the lavish London lifestyle befitting his made-up rank, Gregor decided to reinvent himself yet again. In the early part of the 19th century, a war of independence was being waged against the Spanish in Venezuela. One of the leaders of this rebellion, General Francisco de Miranda, had made quite a splash when he visited London, and Gregor decided to seek his fortune in Miranda's army. After arriving in Venezuela, he offered his services directly to Miranda, introducing himself as Sir Gregor McGregor of the 57th Foot. A military man of such distinction was of course welcomed with open arms, and Gregor was immediately made a colonel, with a cavalry battalion at his command. He had mixed results in a series of early campaigns, but he saw some extracurricular action too, marrying his second wife, Josepha, in June 1812. She was a cousin of the legendary revolutionary leader Simon Bolivar, the man for whom Bolivia is named, which probably had something to do with McGregor's promotion to Brigadier General in the very same month. He may not have been all he claimed to be, but McGregor knew how to fake it until he made it, and soon enough he began to show something of a flair for leadership, displaying courage and generally distinguishing himself on the battlefield. He ended the Revolutionary War as General of Division in the Army of Venezuela and its neighbour, New Granada. During this time, McGregor achieved his greatest military success, leading 1,200 men in a 34-day retreat across Venezuela, outsmarting and outmaneuvering two royalist armies at every turn. According to modern scholars, it was a display of genuine military skill, and it made McGregor a legend, earning him fame and prestige. The following years saw McGregor seek further fortune and glory in Florida, then under the control of the Spanish, but sadly the fortune turned out to be mixed, and the glory limited. By 1820, after a series of failed offensives, McGregor had fallen out with his superiors and found himself in need of a new image for the umpteenth time. Luckily, the perfect opportunity to create exactly that was waiting right around the corner. Literally. It came when McGregor and a group of his supporters landed on the Mosquito Coast, a territory stretching across modern-day Honduras and Nicaragua. In exchange for some rum and jewellery, the local ruler, King George Frederick Augustus, sold McGregor 8 million acres of useless, inhospitable land. But if you've learnt anything about McGregor by now, it's that he never let facts get in the way of a good story. Where others saw vast reaches of jungle and infertile turf, McGregor saw dollar signs. He set sail for England at once, and by the time he arrived in London, he transformed himself into the so-called Prince of Poitiers. All that was needed for this kingdom to become a reality was some money in the royal coffers and a bunch of gullible suckers to become his loyal subjects. When Gregor landed in Britain in 1821, tales of his military successes in Central America were already well known, and those stories gave him a platform of credibility from which he launched a spectacular fraud. He claimed to rule over a utopian land called Poitiers, where vast riches awaited anyone brave enough to seek them out. With their extravagant displays of apparent royal wealth and fantastical stories of paradise, McGregor and his wife were the favourites of socialites everywhere. The sales campaign that McGregor fronted for his scheme is, quite possibly, one of the largest and most complex of any scam in history. He opened Poitiers consulates across England, invented an entire military, complete with its own uniform and ranks, designed a flag, you've got to have a flag, dreamed up a complex banking system, and came up with his own aristocratic titles. McGregor gave interviews in national newspapers and even hired singers to roam the streets of London, Edinburgh and Glasgow, belting out Poitiesian ballads. To top it all off, he wrote a compelling guidebook to his fictional country under the pseudonym Captain Thomas Strangeways, complete with lavish illustrations. It was all so convincing that a prominent London bank eagerly underwrote McGregor's fraudulent Poyesen bonds without batting an eyelid. Many Brits invested their entire life savings buying up Poyet's land or purchasing Poyet's government bonds, worthless shares in an economy that didn't even exist. There were plenty of willing settlers too, mostly Scots who trusted their fellow countryman unquestioningly. And the more that signed up, the more credible the whole scheme seemed. In the end, there were enough settlers to fill 7 ships. In those days, the sheer amount of time it took to travel to far-off regions like Central America made it impossible to verify claims like those McGregor made. Plus, most of the stories that reached Britain at the time were of revolutions and changing governments in exotic lands. So the possibility of there being an unknown nation on an uncharted part of the world map seemed totally plausible. With that all counting in his favour, McGregor raised £200,000 from people in all walks of life, from
Subscribe.
professionals to
I'm
ordinary
finished.
families.
Done. Finito.
That's more than £23 million in today's money. Now,